What's up, everybody? It's your boy TGK back with another one here on TGK TV. And today we're going to do a tiers list for all the free agents possible for the Dallas Mavericks. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. All right, so before we get started on this tier list, ladies and gentlemen, I do have a special guest today. And today's special guest, it is a contributor for the Dallas Prospect. What's up, man?
What's up, TGK? How's everyone doing? Let's get ready to talk Mavs and Mavs free agents.
All right, so before we get into the tiers list that we got going on here, I want to give you some ground rules that we developed here. So for Eni and I, we do have a one overrule rule, basically. So if there's a player where we disagree on and we want to overrule the other on where they should go on this tier list, we only get one per this episode. And then if we disagree on a player, one of us can try to convince the other so we can meet in the middle and figure out where this player goes on this tier list. Now, as far as how this tier list goes, it is going to be based on the mid-level exception, a partial mid-level exception, the biannual, the vet minimum, or an absolute no. The reason for that is because the Mavericks have no cap space and they can't sign players straight out of free agency. So we got to lean into these exceptions. So without further ado, let me go ahead and show you this list. Let's get started. All right, Eni, here we go. You see this list we got right here, man? You see this list?
I do. Has some interesting names on it. Some guys that I'm interested in. Some guys that I'm not so interested in. So we can try to sort out which one's which.
First one on the list, it is Bruce Brown. You want to say where this person should go?
Well, okay. So if you're telling me that we have the full MLE, let's say Kyrie works with us, we convince him, hey, sign for a little less. That gives us enough room to work with the full MLE, garnering us better players. Mm-hmm. And one of the guys where, of course, has been reported that the Mavericks were interested in by Mark Stein himself is Bruce Brown. And the full MLE, it will be, I think, almost twice as much as he made. So it'll be a kind of a hefty raise that he's going to give himself. I think he's one of the people on this list who, is worthy of the full mid-level exception. I'm just going to say MLE because I won't be able to say exception.
I agree with you. I think full MLE for Bruce Brown for sure, 1,000%. I think we do not disagree there. So, boom. That was easy and concise. Let's get straight into the next player. All right, so the next player on the list, it is Dante DiVincenzo. I hope I said that right.
I think you did. I think he literally just declined his the last year of his deal.
And it's because money is so important right now. The money for the Dallas Mavericks is one of the more important things for us. That if it was like the first option, you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to be like, oh, well, we got to get DiVincenzo up in here. But I will put him in the biannual section. Where do you fall with him?
Okay, well, 26-year-old, so he's still kind of young. 9.4 points last year. Played pretty well for the Warriors. He shot actually really good, 39%. I think he has an ability. I'm not 100% familiar with this game, but if I remember correctly, the Villanova guys, especially them wings, they're pretty fundamental. So I think he probably has some defensive ability. So I mean,
yeah, he's a well-balanced player.
I think there is going to be a bidding war, and for us to put ourselves in a better position, we have to go full MLE on Dante.
Yeah. But is that what you would give him? When we talking Dallas Mavericks, we talking about like, all right, if you're gonna spend your full MLE on, who would you spend it on these players, and where would I'm?
Oh, sorry. So he's not picking up his $4.7 million option. Okay. So he wants a raise.
Oh,
and it's probably good at the partial MLE. I mean, if
I don't know,
that would be like 5. We probably won't. That probably wouldn't lure him out of his Golden State.
Yeah.
Well, depending on what other teams have. Well, honestly, with him, we'll probably have to go MLE. He's probably expecting that type of raise.
Then I would.
I would give him.
I would go no, please. I would
You
put
would
him
go
in a
no,
no please.
please.
Yep, I will go in
I
the no
think
please category because I'm not going to give him the full MLE.
okay. So if I want a player of his acumen, let's say all the other wings are gone. I mean, to get him to come here, it might have to be that MLE. I think he can. I think he can contribute. I think he can be a good addition to the team. And I think the options that we have for the full MLE is pretty. It's not very robust.
Mm.
So
you want him in the full MLE? I'll put him up there for you. I'll put him
okay,
up there for you. I'm not going to try to put my one rule in, my one overrule in.
no one over. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, but it would have been a no please for me. All right, so let's get into the next player now. All right, so the next player we got on the list, it is Goran Dragic. It is Luka's buddy from Slovenia. Right off the rip, I'm going to say vet minimum. I would not mind him being on the squad, but for vet minimum for me, where are you standing?
One of the things that the Mavericks did that kind of, for a lack of a better term, pissed me off is we put too many of these veteran leaders or whatever, too many of them at the end of the bench. When we're starting to get into the territory of we're giving away what can be valuable roster spots to guys that we can be trying to develop. So if you're talking about keeping either Dwight Powell or Theo Pinson, or adding a Goran Dragic, someone who's probably not going to get very much playing time, who's probably at the end of his career. Look, I might go vet minimum, but I'm leaning towards no, please.
Oh, no, please.
I'm leaning towards no, please.
All right. Oh, that's a good one. This is why I need to put the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire soundbite. You know what? I think we could probably get a better point guard as the third ball handler, quote unquote. So I'll roll with you on that one. I'll roll no, please as well. Just because I'm trying to save my overrules if we get to that point. You know what I'm saying? Get into the next player. The next player is a center who used to play for the Bulls, I believe, last year, named by Andre Drummond. He is now a decent commodity, I guess, in certain teams that don't have rebounding. Where does he fall for you and out of our list up here?
Well, shout out to Bibbs Corner. He broke the news over the weekend that the Mavericks are trying to trade for DeAndre Ayton by sending Tim Hardaway Jr., Richard Holmes, and McGee. Now, let's say, hypothetically speaking, if the Mavericks were to be successful in getting that trade to be accepted, so that means we're shipping off Richard Holmes and McGee, bringing back DeAndre Ayton. We'll still have two centers on our rotation. I'm not counting Maxi Kleba as a center. I think he can actually finally play just 4. He can be our small ball 5, cool, whatever, but I'm not counting him as a center. I think having a guy like Andre Drummond to be the third center, to where get a big-bodied center who can, I don't know, play defense, stop somebody from getting rebounds. He's still an elite rebounder in the league. I would be willing, or let's just say I would not be mad if the Mavericks gave him a vet min contract.
All right, perfect. That is where I'm at. I will give him a vet minimum, 1,000%. Yes. The reason for that, I agree with that. I think having rebounding on our team is going to be big, and especially having someone with he's journeyman status now at this point, right? He's gonna be able to come here and kind of give Lively some kind of pointers on how to not have the trajectory of the career he's kind of had, right? He's going through his downs and ups, and hopefully now he's trajectorying back to an up as opposed to what it was a down, what it seemed like the last couple of years. But on a vet minimum, I'm pretty sure he could work back his way back up to a biannual. I'm pretty sure with a good year. But I would for 1,000% take him with a vet minimum here in Dallas for sure. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get straight into this next player. All right, here we go. We got Dennis Smith Jr. I brought this up on the We Talk Mavs podcast. Check it out. We have breaking news in there. It was one of the funnest 2 hours I've ever experienced. But in that podcast, I was like, what about DSJ? All right. And then there was some apprehension because some of us wanted him to have a good or a better situation in Charlotte. I'm of the belief that what if Luka and Kyrie are sitting out? Who's gonna, run the offense? I want Dennis Smith Jr. here potentially for a biannual, if possible. If you were to make a decision on Dennis Smith Jr. coming to the Mavericks, where do you fall at, any?
I definitely would want him on the Mavericks. If anybody ever looked at the Dallas prospect videos, the year Dennis Smith was in the draft, we were covering the 2017 draft. I was a big proponent of drafting Dennis Smith. Now, hey, that kind of blew up on my face because he didn't last very long with the Mavericks. However, he has had a mini resurgence in his career. Let me point out a couple numbers for you. 8.8 points for the Charlotte Hornets, shooting 42% from the field goal. Look, I get it. He's not the most efficient, but if you give him a role where it fits him, then it's not completely crazy. However, these are the things that we didn't see as Mavericks fans that he did here. We saw glimpses of it, but I think he's become a fully actualized two-way player in the NBA. If you look at the numbers, I think he ranks second amongst point guards in terms of defensive numbers. He's been putting up really good numbers. And if I gave him, let's say, if I was looking for a third ball handler, and we had something like the biannual exception, which I think is probably about 4 point something, a little under $5 million.
Yeah, I think
he only made $2 million last year.
Yep.
And if he's looking for, if Charlotte doesn't want to bring him back because they still will probably need a backup point guard, and he played well for them. If he's available, and we still had the exception available, I will probably use the biannual exception.
Hey, look at us, man.
I also can't be biased. Let me throw that out there. I was a huge Dennis Smith supporter, going into his draft class.
So what are you thinking of our list so far, man? Do you have any regrets on any decisions so far?
No, I think we're in agreement on a lot of things. Maybe the only thing that we might not agree on is the Goran Dragic one,
and probably the DiVincenzo one too as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't think he's full MLE, but I'll give it to you. Okay, because I don't want to counter argue that one. I was like, I gotta save it. So, but it's gonna be interesting to see the way the rest of this kind of fills out.
This league is about having wings at your disposal, and he's a good one.
Yep.
Can't have too
many. All right, let's go ahead and get straight into the next player. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the next player is none other than Harrison Barnes of the Sacramento Kings, formerly of the Dallas Mavericks. Again, as we spoke about having wing depth and having players that are not going to demand the ball now, right? Harrison is not going to be demanding the ball. Harrison's going to be able to play a role and be a veteran leader on this team. And I view Harrison Barnes in the realm. Man, he was making some good coin last year. I just look at the CBA that's going to get the money's going to get so tight, and the Kings are not going to bring him back. There's other teams like the Rockets, the Spurs, the Pacers that could really pay money, but why would they need him necessarily, right? So just playing hardball. A lot of my decision making on this tier list is playing hardball. I would put Harrison Barnes in the biannual exception tier. Where do you stand, any?
Well, here's the thing about Harrison Barnes. He's still a serviceable player.
Yes.
In the league. He was a starter for the Sacramento Kings, who had an historic, I think you can see my spit. Jesus. He had an historic season. He was part of the historic season for the Sacramento Kings, making the playoffs for the first time since I was in high school, which was a long time ago. But here's the thing, put up pretty good numbers for them. Shot 37% from the three. I think he was about 14 points per game. Yeah, 15 points per game. On Hoops Hype, it has him as 115 points per game. We got to get him. Okay, are you kidding me? Give him everything. And that's definitely a typo. Probably 15.0 points a game is what they meant to type. But I mean, look, you have to be realistic um on how the league looks at him. And listen, so the way I'm looking at this, just to give everyone who's watching this video my mindset, excuse me if I go a little long, is if I am trying to pride these, or if I'm trying to get these players on my team, if I want them, how am I gonna get them versus how other people will want to get them, right? If I try to present a guy like Harrison Barnes with what he's done, with the biannual exception, which is under $5 million, I do not think I'll get him. If I try to present Harrison Barnes with partial MOE, I think being a little under $5 million, I don't think I'll get him. And if I want him, like all our resources are completely out, and we only have the full mid-level exception, I honestly don't think that'll be enough. But let's just say, if it was to get the job done, and I could be looking at this wrong, versus how you were meant for us to look at it, it will have to be full MLE for a guy like Harrison Barnes. Now, I think he fits in well with what the Mavericks are trying to do. Like I said, he's a very good corner 3-point shooter, two-way guy. He's probably not the point of attack, but hey, we took care of that by adding guys like Omax and having other cats on our team that can handle that. Point of attack on defense. I think he's a very smart player. I think he knows his role now is going to be very different than how he was when Luka first came in the league. And I think he'll be a very good player if he was to come to the Mavericks. I'll give him the full MLE.
Can we settle on partial MLE? I got him at biannual, and the reason for it, I have him at the biannual is because I want to make sure I get the player I want at the full mid-level, right? And so it's like, all right, now if I get the player I want at the full mid-level, that means I'm left with the biannual and vet minimum.
Gotcha.
And I'm like, Harry Harrison, like, you
want he's definitely he won't be my first choice for the full MLE. It'll definitely be a Bruce Brown.
I could settle on partial MLE.
Okay.
If Kyrie signs the full.
If Kyrie signs the full and all we got is partial, I don't think we'll be able to bring in a Harrison Barnes, to be honest with you. But okay, fine. If you want to put him in a partial MLE, if that's what you think he's at.
I know that's not what he's at. It's just I don't see other teams. I don't see the Kings necessarily.
Well, if the Kings lose out,
they might go for Kuzma, right?
Yeah, if they lose out on Draymond, which is all indications look like he's gonna probably go back to the Warriors. If they lose out on Kuzma, if they lose out on all their other options, he's probably going back to the Kings, to be honest.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, at that point. All right,
so we'll go ahead and put him. Look, Harrison Barnes is not going to be a hill that I'm willing to die on. So,
all right, we'll keep him in the partial. We'll meet at the middle.
Cool.
All right, let's get into this next player. All right, the next player, it is Grant Williams from the Boston Celtics, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot of hype around this guy, and deservedly so. Without giving you too much of my thoughts about him, because I don't think I need to, I'm giving him the full MLE. Where are you at, with Grant Williams?
The type of guy Grant Williams is, okay, so I'm looking at Hoops Hype right now. Hoops Hype had Harrison Barnes out of all the free agents ranked at number 16. You want to take a stab at where they have Grant Williams?
Number 7.
Grant Williams is ranked number 28.
God, why? What?
Now, I'm not going to go exactly with Hoops Hype. I don't think they're 100% right at all. But here's the thing about Grant Williams. He fits exactly what the Mavericks need.
Yeah.
On court and persona-wise. He can play defense. He's very versatile playing defense. And he's a dog playing defense. And he can shoot. and hit open jump shots, shooting about 39%, 39.5% from three. Um, I'm not
Very
sure
good.
about his mid range game if he's able to create for himself, but we already have guys that can do that. Look, people who are creators are going to rank lower to me than guys who can just play defense and you know hit an open shot. I was kind of the opposite realm last year because we didn't have a guy like Kyrie on our team at the
Mm-hmm.
beginning of last year. So now that he's here, things have changed. I'm
Yep.
just going to throw that out there because my brain is literally saying you said the exact opposite last year. And so that is why. So a guy like Grant, I'll be willing to give him a full mid-level exception. Hopefully, if we can probably do a sign and trade with him, so we are still able to have that available if Kyrie signs. Um, if Kyrie signs for a little less than the max, then look, I am excited to add him on the team. He's exactly what the Mavericks need. He will
You know,
fit on. He's like in terms of what I want. Now, if this is Hoops Hype Mavericks, and I'm making a list of free agents that I will want for the Mavericks, he's in the top 5. That is gettable.
yeah.
It's gettable. Yeah.
Yeah, I probably should have added a sign and trade tier, but I think it will still fall under the same kind of parameters with the full
Yeah.
MLE for Grant Williams. So
Yeah.
I think I saved myself on that one. All right, so we both agreed on Grant Williams. Thank God. Let's go ahead and get to the next player. All right, the next player on the list, it goes none other than the 35-year-old Joe Ingles. I'm gonna let you start off with this one, man. Well, where do you think he
Dang,
falls?
I was gonna bounce off of you on this one. Joe Ingles. Look, he is not the Joel Ingles
Of
that we
old,
know back when he played for Utah,
right?
um, before the ACL tear. Look, I'm at a point with this team where we do need to get younger. There's a youth movement that's going on. I don't need super old guys. Yes, he will be a good in the vacuum, he will be good. Let's say if the Monstars were coming and we needed to win this championship to save the universe from Thanos. I'm just mixing so many other things in here. Then I would I'll look at a guy like him, but this is the NBA. We are pretty much looking at doing this next year and the year after and the year after up until the I guess the world explodes. So there's more things we're gonna look into and have adding a 35-year-old forward who might be a little limited on the defensive end, even though he's a probably great playmaker, can shoot pretty well. Uh, with the Mavericks now this year, defense, defense, defense. He is not what I'm looking forward. Uh, he's not what I'm looking. I guess in terms of player or archetype for the Mavericks this year. So I'm gonna say no, please.
Oh, I'm glad we agree, man. Yeah, I just don't think it's not that I don't think any of these players can ball. I mean, maybe there's one on here that I don't think can, but I think Joe Ingles would be great on a vet minimum. But if it is, that's like break in case of emergency kind of thing.
Yeah,
But I would put all my eggs in a different basket prior to even get into the idea of signing Joe Ingles in a rotational way, right? Like we don't need him to be getting 20 minutes a night, 15 minutes a night. We shouldn't have to need him to get that many minutes. So because of that, I feel like a vet minimum would be better served to be utilized on someone that provides in a different way necessarily. And I just don't think Joe Ingles, being at 35 years old now, is going to be able to give you the returns that we're looking for. I wouldn't mind having him. I'm not saying I don't want him on the team. I'm just saying it's not top on my list, right? So it's
yeah.
just no please for now in case of emergency.
7 points per game, 3 rebounds. He did shoot 40% from the 3 point. Still, not what I'm looking. Not what I'm looking for.
Yeah, agreed.
No,
All
please.
right. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get to this next one. I think after this, I think we should be able to agree a lot more based on the upcoming players, but you never know. This is YouTube. So the next player on this list, it is none other than the former Dallas Maverick, Jay Crowder. He is now also a journeyman. I believe he is now also 33, 34, maybe 35. I forget. But he
He's
is up
not. He
there.
shouldn't be that old. He's
Uh,
probably in his 20s.
nah,
Have all this.
nah. I think he up there, bro. I think I might be wrong, but I think he up there.
Okay.
And I say up there with me looking. But I don't mind Jay Crowder. I wouldn't mind having him here.
Damn, you're
I,
right. He's 34.
I'm not gonna spend a full MLE on Jay Crowder. I'm not gonna spend a
Mhm.
partial. I'm not even gonna do a biannual. He falls on the vet minimum for me. Where does he fall for you?
Especially because the majority of last year he took off, and then when he finally made his way to Milwaukee, he ended up not even getting a lot of playing time for them. He is, I guess, I just discovered he is 34. You are correct about that. Looking up his age, however, he does fit a mold on the type of player I would like to see on the Mavericks.
Mm-hmm.
His play type. And we're talking about players to like round out the team.
Mm-hmm.
He probably has some veteran qualities that we'll like to see. He can probably give some pointers to Omax. I'm not going to play him ahead of Omax, but he can
Hell
be
no.
a vet that can mentor Omax and step in and perhaps provide some services when we really need it. If we want to do some mix and match some lineups that are like we really need to shut some players down, let's go ahead and throw this guy out, put him at the 4 or 3. Hey,
Yep.
I'm looking at the vet minimum for Jay Crowder too. I think
Nice.
his market, it will probably dictate that that's will be the only option for him. I haven't heard much of anything in terms of people wanting him and people having interest in him. So it very well looked like he might be available for the veteran minimum for the vet min.
Awesome. We agree again on Jay Crowder, so that is a good thing.
You know what they
Uh,
say? Great minds think alike.
yes, sir. Yes, sir, they do. Yes, they do.
Mhm.
All right, man. Let's go get to this next player. The next player on the list, it is Brook Lopez, formerly of, or probably still of, the Milwaukee Bucks. I put him in here just because the fact that he is a free agent
Uh-huh.
and he would be a target I'd like to go get. I do think the Bucks will end up resigning him, but in the case that he makes himself available, I'm gonna let you take this one. Where would you put him on this
Like
tier
he will
list?
have to be beefing with the Bucks or something. Like
Right.
he got highly disrespected by the front office. He says, "I'm out." And we didn't do the deal for DeAndre Ayton. Um, that I'm actually expecting since doing research and everything. I'm actually expecting that deal to possibly go down here by I guess next week. Um, I'm not trying to break anything. I'm not trying to be like Bibbs or anything like that. But anyway, look, it's gonna be hard to pry a guy like him, like Brook, out of his situation. I think Milwaukee still wants him. I still think they will want to contend. Yes, they are up against it in terms of the financials, in terms of the aprons. But I think though there are some moves that they can make to be able to accommodate a guy like Brook Lopez, who's very good on offense, still very good on defense. I think he was an all defensive player. I could be wrong. And I don't think we'll be able to get him for any of this. I don't think even the full level exception will garner his services. If that's all I had available with all these exceptions and vet mins and straight up just hell no. I mean, let's say full metal,
Full metal.
the full mid level exception will be, what I will offer to him and be like, hey man,
Yep.
if it doesn't work out in Milwaukee, if they disrespect you and you still want to win, we got Kyrie, we got
Mm-hmm.
Luca. We definitely need some center help because our deal with DeAndre fell through, and we are, there's still some people, out in Mavs land who think that hey, to put all your eggs in the Derek Lively basket for his rookie season will probably be a little risky.
Yep.
So we need a stopgap center. I think if he's
Stopgap.
available,
I love this the new term stopgap.
yeah,
I know it's not a new term. It's just
yeah,
new to me. Just like
yeah, yeah.
nefarious.
Yeah,
N-
that's what's kind of being thrown around right now. Yeah, if we're
it's
looking for
not
a stop, if we're looking for a stopgap center, someone who's as old as Brook but is still as serviceable, I will put him in the full.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the age would be a little bit concerning for anybody else, but because of the dire need for this position, I feel that if it were to come down to it, with or without Aiton, I think he still would deserve the full MLE. Even if we got Aiden, I couldn't be like, do you want to take a partial? Do you want to take a biannual? I know
Mm,
it'd be ridiculous for him, knowing how valuable his position is and how he could stretch the floor by being an actual 3-point shooter. So I put him in the full MLE, and I put him there, agreeing with you, knowing that we probably have no chance to get him, but
yeah, yeah, probably
definitely,
most
definitely goes up
likely
there.
do not have a chance to get him.
Let's go ahead and let's get into the next player. The next player we got, it is Kevin Love of the Miami Heat. I will save you time, Eni. I'm going to say no, please. And the reason for that, because it's the eye test for me. From what I saw, he only gave me a spurt, and I believe game five. In game five in the fourth quarter, he gave you 11 points, like 4 rebounds, and was taking out the rest of the game because, I mean, that's all he could give you.
Hmm.
I really think his days are numbered from being a highly productive player. And unless it's a vet minimum, I'm on the side of no please for Kevin Love.
So with Kevin Love, just like I said with uh Goran, like
Look, don't make me have to use my one
no, no,
overrule of the
no.
video on Kevin Love.
No, 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 no. All right, so just like I said with Goran, just like I said with what's his name?
Ingles,
Angles. Golly. When I'm in front of a camera, I forget names. But
you good, man.
Kevin Love, I mean, at this point, his best ability is his outlet passes, his full court outlet passes, his ability to draw fouls. I think he shot well last year. I'm not 100% sure. Um, but other than that, I think he's, you know, in terms of lateral quickness and being able to stay in front of the defender, I think he's a liability. And I don't think there will be, with what we have, I don't think there will be much um, room for him. I don't think there will be a
Mm-hmm.
lineup where we can justify having a Kevin Love on our team. Like, he works with Miami because Miami can throw out a bunch of defenders and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
With us, I don't think we have. I mean, yeah, but they're not very
We, we
experienced yet.
we have a need, but we have
It's
a
way down on terms of stuff that we need
right,
and what he
and
provides. I think we can.
mm-hmm.
I think we'll be just fine, just not even giving him a call. Just yeah, just no, please for me.
All right, no, I'm glad we agree on this. No, please. I love Kevin Love. Love what he's done. Again, there's no disrespect to the majority of all these guys or to all these guys. It's just you're looking at building a team around Kyrie and Luca,
Mhm.
and I'm pretty sure someone's going to disagree with us in the comments. It's just I don't see a world where current Kevin Love fits with this
Yeah,
team at this
maybe
moment.
Kevin Love and the Timberwolves.
Oh yeah, but all day.
He was getting
2020,
rebounds. Yeah, he was a 2020
K
guy.
level, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was nice, man. All right, let's go and get into this next player. The next player, it is Nikola Vucevic. I'll go ahead and jump off on this one and tell you he is what? He is a buddy of Luca's. He is 32 going on 33. Um, Definitely deserves to make some good money. He can stretch the floor. It would be hard to get him, but if we were to get him, and if the DeAndre Ayton, trade fell through, I am willing to give him the full MLE, solely because of him having to fill in that center role and allow Derek Lively to develop. It would be extremely smart of us to give him the full MLE in that situation. But if we had Aiton, I'm I'd ask him like, hey, do you want any of these other exceptions that we have left? But off the rip, I'd give him the full. Where do you stand?
I think we have our first major disagreement.
Here we go.
I will go as far as saying no, please.
Okay.
Why? Because I don't think, just like Kevin Love, there's really not much of a place for him on this team. There's really not
Mm-hmm.
much of a place for him around the league, to be honest with you.
Mm.
Because the way he can't guard anybody, and his numbers kind of went down this year in terms of scoring. So if they're going down, he's getting older. It's probably not going to get any better.
Right.
Maybe if he gets in a situation that works for him, the place I'm thinking of is probably Milwaukee, because Giannis can probably cover up some of his deficiencies.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not hoping Lively can do that his rookie year.
Mm-hmm.
And if he was the only center available, and that Ayton deal that Bibbs broke um, fell through, I would rather just have um, Rashad Holmes and Lively share time, and then Lively get some experience, and get his feet.
So you will go straight no, please. You wouldn't
I
even be
will go.
like,
I will
how
go
about a
straight.
biannual? You wouldn't even spend a biannual.
I would rather use that roster spot on someone. Like I said, we need guys who can play defense. I don't need guys who can just stand there and shoot threes. He's obviously a no, and he's a no, please. I don't think he will fit on this team. Maybe going.
Okay.
Mhm.
I like this. I like saying no to players that we wouldn't mind having.
Sorry,
uh,
I mean, is he someone that you're willing to use your overrule rule on?
no, not yet. Not
Oh
yet.
no.
There might be a player, depending on how you look at it, that I would overrule with a heartbeat. But
Okay.
uh, I see the argument because, like I said, if we had Aiton, I said no, please, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I'm cool with going there. It's just if he is available and I could get him on a vet minimum or a biannual, I would. I think Luca can, I don't know, probably work some magic and recruit him, right? But
That's fine, but I don't think
on the
he even
merits,
fits well on the court with Luca. What we need.
mm,
You do pick and pops all the time. Need to go pick and rolls. Is he a good roll man?
true, he does not have the
He's
athleticism that we are
doesn't have the
requiring.
athleticism. He doesn't have the rim rolling ability. He's not a shot blocker. I mean, he's looking
Yeah.
at an offensive version of Dwight Powell. And
Mm.
I'm honestly just being mean. He's not Dwight Powell, but still. Um,
Yeah,
I don't his skill
we're gonna
set doesn't
disagree
match.
again.
Yeah. His skill set doesn't match what the Mavericks need, and doesn't match well with our current superstars on this team.
You done a very well job, very good job in convincing me to go with you. I'll go with a no, please as well.
Nice.
But if we got none of these guys and we still had all these exceptions left, I'd be like,
Mm-hmm.
hey man, you want to take one of these exceptions, please?
If we're desperate, then yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and get to this next player.
I'm actually
Next.
interested to see what you will say about this next player.
All right, man. It's gonna be very interesting for sure.
Okay.
I put no thought into it. I let a lot of these players just happen off the dome. Just
Okay.
like, all right. Once we get there, I'll come up with my thought process. The next player is Patrick Beverly, a how would I put it, a point guard that is going to get under your skin
Mm-hmm.
and you will love to be on your team versus having him be against you, even though he won't kill you, but he'll just annoy you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Patrick Beverly, I believe he's 34, 35 now. He's a journeyman now. He can still play some defense in his role. I don't know what the market looks like for him,
I haven't heard much of anything.
but because I don't think there is a market, and if we can't get Dennis Smith on a biannual, I would be willing to call Patrick Beverly and be like, "Hey, man, you willing to do a vet minimum?" I might be crazy in saying vet minimum Patrick Beverly, but it's just trending in that direction for him. That maybe he has 2 good or respectable years left in the league, and at that point, I don't think anybody will be calling after that. But I'd give him a vet minimum. Where do you stand?
I am all in giving him a vet minimum.
I was about to say, hold on.
Look, what Pat Bev brings to the table, yeah, he has a cool, I won't say a podcast because he's been saying some wild stuff on his podcast.
He will be very entertaining here for
Yeah, he'll
sure.
be
Very
very
entertaining.
entertaining, but he will also bring the energy. He's someone that, like I said on the podcast over the weekend, he's someone that whose calling card is playing defense. He might not have the ability to just shut down people, but he can at least inspire. Hey, he would look at Omax, he'll look at Josh, he'll look at other guys on the team who's calling cards to play defense. He'll be like, hey, look,
Yep.
it's time. Shut them down. Back in my day, back when I was in my prime, this is what I did.
Mm-hmm.
I went up against the best. There was even times when he was on the Clippers, and I think they were going up against Golden State or whatever back
Yep.
when he had Kevin Durant, and he
Yep.
was guarding Kevin Durant, one of the greatest offensive players to ever play the game, and he was going toe to toe with him. You know, and he takes pride in playing defense, and those are the type of dudes I want on the Mavericks because look, at the end of the day, we have Luka, we have Kyrie, and the other people got to fit where they may. You know what I mean? But the other guys, if they want to make big money in this league, you got to be able to provide on both sides defense, and that's what we lacked last year. And if you look on the past championship teams, they were always really, I won't say really good, they were at least top 10 in defense. So that's if our aspirations is championship, that's where we need to start tilting towards. I don't care about putting 150 points per game when the other team is putting up 151 and we're still getting the L, right?
Yep.
We need people who can play defense, and I'm will be happy to give him a vet min. He might be the third ball handler. He might just be someone dude at the end of the bench. But if I'm bringing him in, just like there were some instances where guys at the end of the bench played, then I'm glad it will be a guy like Pat Bev.
Bet. I'm glad we agree on this.
Boom.
I would love to have Pat Bev here for a vet minimum.
Mhm.
And I'm be interested in how this market works out. It's going to be interesting with a lot of these teams. They're already dumping good players just for a trade exceptions.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So it'll be interesting to see where Pat Beverly does end up going. And I don't know. He might be here. You never know.
You could. We never know how it winds up.
All right, so I didn't organize any of these players in the role that they've been coming out. We just went from left to right, and now we're getting to a player that was formerly of a Dallas Mavericks, currently still is with the new fiscal year not hitting yet. Theo Pinson. I'm gonna let you. I think you have a very interesting opinion of Theo Pinson. I'm gonna let you go ahead and take the floor.
So we were just on a podcast, in case we haven't mentioned it before, and you just skipped over to this part of the video. We were on a podcast. We talked Mavs. Shout out to them boys, Reese. Not Reese. Rail and King.
Yes,
and pretty much all of them were pretty down on Theo Pinson. And look, I am down on Theo Pinson, but I do recognize that he has some benefits to some uses for him. He did get a triple double at the end of last year when we were tanking. But that's really what he provides on court is really not the reason why I want him. I think he's a glue guy. He's a culture guy for the type of culture that I want on this team, honestly. He has some dog in him. He talks trash to the other teams. They pretty much made up a whole new rule in the NBA because of him that has to do with the bench that they have to sit down now. I guess like some kind of decorum rule. And he played a role that on that team that went all the way to the Western Conference Finals. I will be, if it's up to me, and I just had this last roster spot, I would say, hey, Theo, just run it back. Go ahead and do what you do. Bring out some more podcasts. His podcasts are actually pretty entertaining. Y'all should go check it out. Run Your Race.
Run Your Race.
Has some interesting guests. Yeah, I'll put him at the vet min. I mean, that's all he's going to get. He ain't getting nothing else. But no, I'll take him on the team.
If I had a choice from the two Mavericks that are free agents that are not favored to return, which I'm tipping my sign on another player, I'd be willing to do the vet minimum because of Jason Kidd said it 2 years ago that Theo Pinson was the MVP of this team. Just due to how his presence in the locker room, his energy that he brought, lifting up the players. a lot of those things are extremely underrated, and that's why I said like the vet minimum guys got to give you something other than the
Yeah.
basketball court, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Theo Pinson does give you a layer of being capable on the basketball court because if I recall, when Kyrie did play his first game with the Dallas Mavericks against the Clippers, it was him and Theo that closed the game out, just to give him the props, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Theo Pinson does give you something from a team chemistry perspective. He does give you some valuable minutes when he's on the court. He is a team ball type of player. He can hoop, and it's not to say that he can't hoop. It's just you got preference, and in this league, you want to get the best players. Um, I haven't soured on Theo Pinson as I have the other player,
Mm-hmm.
but I would do a vet minimum deal for Theo Pinson as well.
We're in agreement, baby.
All right, let's get it going to this next player. The next player we got, it is Mason Plumlee, a center. I believe he is 30 years old, if I remember correctly. Definitely has some. I wouldn't say he has like a big market, but I would say there's some rumblings in the market for Plumlee, for a team like the Dallas Mavericks. If it were me on a Plumlee deal, I'm willing to go as far as a biannual for Plumlee, even if we got Aiton. And the reason for that is I don't know. You just can never have good enough backups in case something happens. Because what if Derek Lively potentially just falls off the face of the planet and just becomes a bust, right? You need a little insurance. So for the little $3 to $4 million, I'm willing to take a little flyer on Plumlee at the biannual.
So for Plumlee, is definitely my decision on him is definitely dependent on what happens in free agency, in whether it be free agents that we pick up or trades.
Like what I'm saying is this is the highest I'd be willing to give him. I'd take him on a vet minimum all day.
Yeah, of course.
But the highest I would go is biannual.
Yeah. And he's a guy that provides a lot of things that we sorely needed. Averaged about 8 rebounds per game last year. I just looked it up. 8 rebounds, about 8 points, something like that. 10 points, 8 rebounds. He definitely needs help on them free throws. He has a wonky jump shot, but for some reason it improved even with that wonk to surprise some players. If you looked at some of the bench reactions on his jump shot, but he's getting better, and he does provide stuff that the Mavericks definitely needed in the years past. And so I guess I'm with you in terms of if let's say if I'm in a bidding war with another team, the highest I will probably go. And let me look at his last year. I mean, he was at $9 million last year.
Mm-hmm.
The highest I will definitely go for Plumlee if I'm in the bidding war with somebody else. And let's say if I'm just honestly, I'm gonna go vet minimum. I'm gonna go vet minimum. Here's the reason why I'll go vet minimum.
And he doesn't stretch the floor. He doesn't give you anything outside of offense. Floor,
doesn't really do much.
A utility guy that comes in, cleans up board.
Pretty much
fills minutes for you.
Add him into the rotation if the deal falls through and you're not trying to get any other free agents. I will. And we're just trying to shore up the center rotation, and he just so happens to be available. No one wants him. I'll definitely take him at a vet min, because I think we could find centers that could do a little bit of what he's trying to do or what he's good at. Probably out there in the open market. I mean, we can call up Dwight Howard. We can call up Hassan Whiteside, stuff like that, to just be our first string center. We're not talking about a center that's going to start for us and play heavy minutes for us. We're talking about, hey, maybe let's get a capable center that can be our third in case, if we trade JaVale to another team and the deal with Ayton falls through and whatever. And if stuff happens to where we only have 2 centers and we want a third one, I'm definitely tipping my hand at the next player. I would definitely take a guy like Plumlee.
All right, I agree. I like to play hardball, and if I'm going to get a player in here to maximize the upside financially, vet minimum makes a lot more sense for me. Again, now I'm trying to think of it from like a GM. Like, am I going to be able to get more value out of this player in this exception.
Yeah.
That way, the player that you get at a higher exception, it's just adding more value to it, right? Like maybe if you could get a player that could get a partial MLE at the biannual, it's great. If you get a player that's worth the biannual at the vet minimum, that's great.
Yeah.
It's about trying to play hardball. It is this tough new CBA. It's like almost like the NFL, and try to just maximize your players at these certain tiers, right? So we agree. I'm willing to go to a vet minimum. Ideally, that'd be lovely. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into this very next and very controversial player for this free agency tier list. The next player is none other than Dwight Pizzle Powell. I just came up with that, but Dwight Powell, great humanitarian in the community, does a lot of great stuff. There's no knock on that at all from my end. But now having McGee, now having Rashard Holmes.
What do you mean there's no knock on him? As a person?
Yeah, as a person.
Oh, okay, as a person.
Okay. Yes.
All right.
You know, I gotta be a little respectful. You know,
you're right.
But we do have McGee, we do have Lively, and we
like
do have Rashawn
knocks on him.
We do have Rashawn Holmes. So he was making 10 mil last year.
11.
For the sake of the Dallas Mavericks and the fandom, I might have to overrule you if you disagree.
You mother effer.
But I would put him at no, please.
Okay. All right. So here's why I'm moving on from Dwight Powell. And yeah, he has, I guess, good numbers or whatever. He's 6'10", 6'11" wingspan, can't shoot, not a good rebounder, not a good shot blocker. His one ability is he can catch lobs, and that's about it. He has good synergy with Luka. Congratulations, but here's the thing: Luka needs to create synergy with someone who's a little bit more capable, and we might as well get that process still going right now. He's like you said, he's a good dude. You know, I make the joke a lot of times that he leads the league in community service hours.
He also leads the league in the most hits to the face,
and the most hits to the face, and that's probably another skill of his. Flopping is actually a skill. And I noted this because I'm not good at it at all. I was in a basketball league and I tried to draw a foul and I got hit and it looked terrible, and I'm just like, maybe this is a skill. Okay. So anyway, I mean, with Dwight, a lot of people says he's a good presence in the locker room. I get it. A lot of people are good presence in the locker room. I don't think he's like a super leader to a point where like he's invaluable to where we can't let him go. I think we can get players who are respected in the locker room, who are good culture guys, that can replace the culture guy that Dwight Powell brought. In terms of the locker room, he might have good relationships with people in the front office and with management. I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you, Mark Cuban. But in terms of what he brings to the roster, it's not much. It's really not. And I can find centers who can produce in ways in which he can, that lead more to wins than what Dwight Powell can. Now, if you want to overrule me and be like, Mavs fans, you know, we want him on the end of a bench. I think Reese actually pointed this out. Reese pointed this out during the podcast. When Chris Paul was talking about good players on the Mavericks, he mentioned Theo Pinson. He did not mention Dwight Powell.
That's more than enough for me.
Yeah. So, you know, Theo Pinson has more respect around the league than Dwight Powell. Therefore, there are more uses for Theo Pinson than there is for Dwight Powell. Dwight Powell he is solely just a Dallas guy, and we should have moved on from a long time ago, to be honest.
So you're in the no, please.
Yeah, I'm in the no, please.
All right, Dwight Powell, go get that bag in Houston, buddy.
Go get that bag. I'm sure. Hey, Houston needs a lot of houses
They
built
need a
there.
culture guy down there to
They definitely need a
reestablish some stuff.
They definitely need a culture guy down there.
The city of Houston itself needs some, some good guys too, some culture guys down
Yeah,
there. So hopefully Jay Prince doesn't get involved and just lets Dwight Powell do his thing. But
these next
Houston
two
got
guys
some
are
money, huh?
hella interesting. I said these next two guys are hella interesting.
but Houston, y'all gonna get a real one and give that man a bag, man. But Dwight Powell, no please for us.
He's certainly a real one.
All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Down to the final two, and we're gonna get into this next one. It is none other than a Mavs fans delight. There's so many opinions on this guy, Cam Reddish, which he was dealt in the deal. Not you didn't know it at the time, but when we gave an extra pick to Atlanta, he ended up being that pick for the Luka Doncic and Trae Young deal. Cam Reddish has gone from Atlanta to New York and then Portland, and now he is a free agent. And signs don't point to Portland bringing him back. So Cam Reddish is a wing player. He meets the needs of the Dallas Mavericks, and I am interested to hear where Eni stands on his tier ranking.
So I remember last year when we lost Jalen Brunson, going to New York. I posed that hey, maybe the Mavericks should think about doing this, son of a sign and trade type thing to try to get a guy like Cam Reddish on the team. Here's why I say get a guy like Cam Reddish on the team. He is in the mold of exactly the type of player you want around Luka Doncic. He's about 6'8". I think he has a long wingspan. He's able to play on both sides. He had some moments for Atlanta. I'm not sure about how he did in Portland. I actually think now that I'm thinking about it, I actually think he had a lot of moments in Portland to where people were thinking that he, um, researched, he recharged his career, but I could be wrong. Um, and he's like a super duper duper broke poor man's homeless man's Paul George,
Mm,
and he will be someone that I would definitely love to have at the end of the bench while we are kind of starting this youth movement. He's still a young guy. I think
yep.
he's only 3 years in. He was drafted the same year as Zion, so he was drafted 2019. So he can't be that old. He's probably
Mm,
about 22. Um, yeah, so add on to our youth movement. We have Lively, we have Omax, we have Josh Green, we have Jay Hardy, we have Luca, and then
mhm.
if you can add in a dude like Cam Reddish, I know there's a lot of baggage that comes with him with how his situation ended in Atlanta, how it definitely ended in New York, and how it went on with uh with Portland. But I still think we're in flyer territory, and I still think we can with the proper uh coaching and environment around him, I think we can make a player out of him, honestly. I think we and quite a serviceable one too. So I'm definitely in the biannual exception.
Yes, sir. We are on the
Biannual.
same page there.
Mm.
I would be willing to give him the biannual if Dennis Smith Jr. does not want it. He would not be my first choice in that biannual decision making, but if I were to give him a deal for the Dallas Mavericks, it'd definitely be a biannual. All right, so the next player on the list, it is Matisse Thybulle. He was also a trailblazer, formerly a 76er. He had a great series of videos during the 2020 pandemic at the NBA bubble. I see a player that we could definitely utilize here in Dallas in a specific role, specifically for defense and spot shooting. If he could maintain a really good shot, I would do the biannual on him off the rip. I definitely believe he gives you a lot defensively that is worth it. But if we get into like the mid-level exceptions and stuff like that, it'd be too much for me because there's other players on here I'd much rather have before that. But I would do biannual if Dennis Smith and Cam Reddish were to not want to come to Dallas for the biannual. Where do you stand on Thibault?
I'm high on Thibault. I think out of all the gettable free agents for the Mavericks, he's probably top 5 for me. Reason why? I think he'll thrive here in Dallas. I think him being the defensive specialist that he will be something that'd be very useful for the Mavericks. I think he can guard up to 1, 2, 3, and probably some 4s. And coupling him with Josh Green and Omax and probably Reggie Bullock, and we'll just have a plethora of guys who are able to, lock some guys down. But one of the great things about him is he probably had his best shooting year last year, shooting about 36%. And that's very respectable. So guys having him on the floor with Luke and Kyrie can still work out if he's shooting at that clip. So if I'm the Mavericks, will I go as high as full level? I'll go as high as full level depending on options. On what's left.
I overrule you here.
I definitely think it will be a gamble if I threw the partial mid-level at him. I'm not sure if I'll be able to get him because I think other teams will cover his services.
Yeah.
But I'll put him in partial MLE because I'm looking at Harrison Barnes and I'm just like, well, I want him over Harrison because what Harrison can give you offensively can make up for the difference on what he gives you defensively.
Correct.
So yeah, I'll put him in partial MLE.
Partial MLE.
Yeah.
And I got him at the biannual. I feel like you paying too much. So since you didn't use your overrule, I'm gonna use my overrule and put him at the biannual.
There you go. Someone had to use it, damn it. I'm gonna use your overrule. I'm gonna use my overrule and your overrule. Put him back on partial MLE.
It was done. So looking at this list, man, how do you feel we did? Well, where is something that you feel we should have changed, or do we got everybody in the right spot?
I think we pretty much agree on like 98% of the things that we talked about.
All right, guys. So that brings an end to our Dallas Mavericks free agent tier list. This free agency period is going to start June 30th at 5 p.m. Central Time. I don't know. I might be doing it live. I don't know. I haven't announced it, but that is what we have. Thank you to Any for hopping on and helping me get through this list. Here's this list one more time. As you see, if the Mavericks were to pull some stuff like this off, I would be extremely happy and satisfied with the moves. Any final comments, Any?
I cannot wait for Friday. This Friday will be a very unproductive day for me. I'm gonna be supposed to be working, but I'll probably just be on Twitter, just refreshing. Yeah, just trying.
I'm on the edge of my seat every time I see a Shams or a Woj tweet. I'm just like, what is it gonna be? All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's been your boy TGK here with Any. We go ahead and catch you on the next one.